So we want to take a moment now and just talk a little bit about counseling. And the first question we have here is, who is counseling for?
And counseling is for anyone who wants to strengthen their walk with Christ. Anyone who, if there's a certain sin that you just keep struggling with and you just can't seem to get past it, biblical counseling is for you, and it can help you to something small, something big, something like complaining, something like getting angry, all the way to things that we would consider maybe bigger sins, like pornography or adultery or drinking.
And I think it's important to recognize, though, especially in the church, many times we say that counseling is just for people who have a addiction, to drugs or alcohol, or pornography, or even a problem with infidelity. But we just want to recognize once again that Heather and I didn't have any of those things in our marriage, and yet we needed counseling. Our marriage was falling apart, and we didn't know how to communicate effectively. We didn't understand true forgiveness, and so we needed counseling. And we didn't have any of those major sins that people would label or say in our marriage. And so we just want to encourage you, you don't have to struggle with something huge to get help. And we just want to encourage you to get biblical counseling. And the next question says, how is biblical counseling different than just another counselor?
Biblical counseling, like the name suggests, is from the Bible, and so it's God's word to us. And so from God's word, we see who we are, we see who God is, and we see his plan that was given through the gospel, through Jesus' death and burial and resurrection. And so from that, true change is possible. It's not behavior modification. It's actually change that starts in the heart and then works itself out into our actions and our thoughts and our attitudes.
And we want to just thank Andy and Julie Biddle, our NewHeart counselors, and just talk a little bit about NewHeart counseling and just how they helped us, and just some things we appreciate about them. The first, of course, is they used the Bible. They were solid biblically in everything they did with us. Christ was always the center, and God's word always took precedence over our feelings or what we thought or our opinion. But they were also very practical. And I think that's one thing that Heather and I really needed. We had a lot of biblical knowledge, but we didn't necessarily know how to practically apply that in everyday life. And so Andy and Julie would give us homework on a weekly basis that sometimes we did well and sometimes we were a little late on. But they always gave us something to work on as a couple together during the week, whether that be, saying 5 positive things to each other during the week, or not saying something negative to the other person, or just looking for ways to serve each other. But it was very practical, and we appreciate that a lot about them.
Another thing that we really appreciated was the way that they asked questions. They would never just come right out and tell us stuff in certain areas, but they asked great questions to get us to think so that we could realize for ourselves exactly where our sin was and just wrong patterns of thinking. And so that was obviously very helpful to be able to kind of come to the conclusion on your own with their guidance.
And they really helped us, through that, find the root issues. What were the real idols of our heart that were producing the fruit? Because for years, Heather and I had really tried to change fruit behavior while ignoring the root issues of our heart. And so Annie and Julie were just experts, if I could use that word, were experts at just asking great questions to help us figure out what was going on in our heart, so that we could then take care of those issues, and the fruit then would come later. And so we really appreciate about that about them. And then also that they treated us as a team. They never like Heather against me or me against Heather. It was always as a married couple, always as a team. And one thing they kept saying to us over and over again was, you're cooperators, you're not competitors. And that was really important to us, because for years we had just competed against each other instead of working together. And so that's another thing we appreciate about them.
Yeah, we just wanted to thank them and to encourage you. If you need counseling, just to look for help, to look for good help, to look for biblical counselors. If you're interested in helping people, reach out to Andy and Julie, and they will get you started on the right path to be able to becoming a counselor yourself.
And to close, Annie and Julie, we just want to say that we love you. Thank you for investing in us selflessly. Thank you for pouring just your time and resources and just having us over and just sharing life with us and just loving us even when it was hard, and loving us enough to say hard things but in a nice kind of way. And thank you for never giving up on us. Thank you for just loving us and our children as your own. And we just thank God for you. And we hope that everybody can have an Andy and Julie in their life. And we also hope that what we learned from you, that we can now in turn point others to Christ and help other people as they walk this journey we call life. Thank you so much.